The upcoming program you're about to watch is brought to you by New Media TV in London.
Warning, the following program may contain graphics and video images that some viewers may find upsetting or traumatizing. Some of this content could be too graphic and intense for specific individuals. Viewer discretion is advised.
New Media TV, created in London and launched worldwide by Frank Bello. On our social media channels, we connect you globally with raw, unfiltered digital content. We keep things simple by nourishing your mind and uplifting your spirits. If you have enjoyed this video broadcast and our live stream so far, please remember to like, rate, follow, and subscribe to our channels on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Hit the notification bell to stay updated when we post new videos or live streams. Think differently. Think beyond the headlines. Your engagement and interaction are our most significant rewards, helping us build a stronger community than ever before. Think beyond the headlines. News in its purest form.
In an era when trust in mass media is declining globally, it is even more crucial to support high-quality, accurate journalism. Supporting such investigative outlets means championing content that is ethical, independent, critical, and in the public interest. Good journalism and investigative reporting rely on financial support. On alternative social media platforms, ASMP, good journalism contributes to building a better society, a responsible democracy, and a transparent government. To maintain access to the best investigative reporting at no cost, we encourage you to make a modest contribution to this noble effort. By doing so, you help sustain digital content and ensure that information remains free, fair, and accessible to everyone. We aim to make sense of the chaotic world around us. We would appreciate your support. New Media TV.
At New Media TV in London, we operate as a non-traditional digital content provider. We are recognized as alternative media practitioners, AMP. Unlike established or dominant mainstream mass media, our approach to content, production, and distribution varies considerably. We aim to combine the flexibility of fictional techniques with the impact and engagement of real-world content. We promote participation and the development of a civic attitude that empowers viewers, audiences, and followers to actively engage in spheres relevant to daily life and exercise their right to communication. This embodies our philosophy.
This is a special announcement regarding our rights to select royalty-free tunes for all our videos and live streams. Frank Bello and the team at New Media TV wish to clarify that they hold all legal rights to use over 700 royalty-free tunes across their videos, podcasts, and live streams, and have not infringed upon any intellectual property rights. Some other tunes used in our videos were also fully paid for through subscriptions to Movavi video editor software, Restream.io, and TuneTank royalty-free music for creators. Proof of purchase and download of the over 700 royalty-free tunes can be found at Sounds Best delivery at Shopify.com, where they were delivered. Date of purchase, 12th of January 2021. Time of purchase, 1717 hours in London. Our rights to use these royalty-free tunes in all our videos and podcasts do not infringe any copyright.
Let's get started.
Yes, hi. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning from wherever you're watching this live stream. The very first day, Friday, the very first day of the 8th month of August 2025. Yes, I'm yours and truly. Frank Bello is my name. And as you can see right in front of your screen, the time currently in London is exactly 12 minutes past 5 o'clock, 17:12 London time. And I believe it is the same time frequency in location 9. I salute you, each and every one of you. Yes, it's really getting interesting these days, as you all can appreciate, and it is the race towards the 2027. And what we are beginning to see is politicians playing themselves with politics of betrayal. It is getting interesting. You see, as for me, I'll acknowledge each and every one of you from time to time. I'm pretty sure the rest of our avid viewers and listeners across the world will soon join us. Yes. Obviously, due to some other factors, it's been extremely difficult for me to be coming very regularly to your screens and your devices across the whole world. But rest assured that if that little spare time can creep up within my tight, busy schedule, I definitely will come and speak to each and every one of you. Yes, I greet each and every one of you that are currently online. Yes, the race towards 2027, the money bag politicians and the politics of betrayal in Nigeria. You see, left to me, I'm not really bothered about that nasty piece of a contraption called Nigeria. All I am interested in, and part of what we are going to talk about today, is about some of those great works that some eminent Nigerians they've been doing behind closed doors. And trust me, I have been working for some time on a few of the video clips that I'm going to show you, and you all can actually see it because I've been monitoring few things that's been ongoing from different people on the cyberspace. In as much as the world is already fighting a third world war, the only difference right now is that we've not seen or witnessed a situation whereby some of us will be nuked either by the Russians or the Americans, or perhaps India or North Korea. But technically, be assured that the entire world is gradually drifting towards the edge of that dreadful Third World War. Yes, but we're only bothered. I personally am bothered about Location 9, which, as you know, I decoded that and I told you how Nigeria became Location 9. Now, let us first of all examine the issue of the Indigenes Bill, certificate of occupancy versus certificate of ownership. You see, why? You see, the question I'm going to ask some notable people within Nigeria and outside Nigeria is this: why is the Southwest the only region within the contraption called Nigeria attractive to other tribes. I'm not particularly talking about Lagos this time, but the entire southwest Yoruba land. Why have we got the Igbo people interested in the southwest Yoruba land? Why have we got the Hausa Fulani people in the north, particularly interested in the southwest Yoruba land? Not only are they interested in the southwest Yoruba land, they are equally interested in hijacking all the political machineries in Yoruba land, southwest Yoruba land. You see, that will lead me into this particular question. Is Peter Obi playing a political suicidal game in 2027? Now, if Peter Obi is playing a political suicidal game for 2027, does that mean Peter Obi is a repetition of Nnamdi Azikiwe and Obafemi Awolowo? Hey, did you get exactly where I am driving this point to? You see, Peter Obi, the Igbo man who is eyeing 2027, is, as a matter of fact, destroying the other Igbo people of his own tribe in the southwest. Now, if we probably should go down history, you all will recollect that in the 50s and the 60s, when we had the parliamentary system of government that the British handed down to us, the way they've structured even their own country, the United Kingdom. Now, make no mistakes, the United Kingdom is a conglomerate of 3 nations plus 1, making it the United Kingdom. And let me name them for you. Number 1 is England. England is a nation of its own within the United Kingdom. 2, Scotland is another nation within the United Kingdom. 3, Wales is another nation within the United Kingdom. And then when we bring in the 4th nation, that's when we talk about Northern Ireland. And that's why the United Kingdom is referred to as Great Britain, United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. See, 3 nations plus 1 other one that is just across the pond. You see, the same way they've structured the UK apparently happens to be the same way they've actually structured Nigeria, by carving out the western region, the eastern region, and then the northern region. But out of envy and by violence through a referendum, because of that act of jealousy by both Nnamdi Azikiwe from the east and Ahmadu Bello, the Sardauna of Sokoto from the north, they created the Midwest, which Midwest was then carved out of the old Western region, making four regions, four nations, making the conglomerate called Nigeria before the military struck and then brought down that structure that was already in place, that should have worked perfectly well for the different regions in the country, because as at that time each region were autonomous. Western region controlling their own resources and then bringing their taxes to the center of government for Tafawa Balewa, who apparently at the time was the prime minister. Eastern region, the same. Northern region, the same. And as at that time, despite the fact that the north, they've got vast land, does not mean they've got access to constituencies that will be larger than the rest of the other regions. You see, politics of betrayal created that mess, that conglomerate called Nigeria is in today. Politics of betrayal. Nnamdi Azikiwe betrayed Obafemi Awolowo, despite the fact that Obafemi Awolowo was ready to step down for Zeke to become the prime minister, only for him to be the minister of finance. What happened? Zeke jettisoned everything because the North rather took Eastern Bloc under their, I don't want to use a vulgar word, took Nnamdi Azikiwe and the entire East under their arm, under their armpit. Zeke thought by declaring Nigeria a Republican state in 1963 in conjunction with Tafawa Balewa and Sardauna of Sokoto, the premier of the northern region, Zeke had thought, when he was enticed with the position of being the president. So as at that time, the North cajoled Nnamdi Azikiwe. Nnamdi Azikiwe, despite the fact that he was highly educated, refused to use his brains. You see, he had already fallen into the hands of both Tafawa Balewa and Sardauna of Sokoto, the premier of northern region, only to realize later that he was not an executive president but a ceremonial president, the same way Queen Elizabeth was the head of state from 1960 independence to 1st of October 1963, when Nigeria said, oh, they wanted to be a Republican nation. Ojukokoro Zeke, Olojukokoro ni Nnamdi Azikiwe babayin. But Awolowo saw the future as at that time. But had Nnamdi Azikiwe and Awolowo formed a formidable coalition, as at that time, it would have been practically impossible for the North to come and defeat us in the South. So the politics Bola Ahmed Tinubu is now having to play, like I have said to you time after time, is Bola Tinubu had perfected the late Chief Obafemi Awolowo's politics, perfected MKO Abiola's politics, studied through, like I said in my previous streams, studied the SWOT analysis on both Chief Obafemi Awolowo, MKO Abiola. So in other words, Bola Tinubu studied the strength, the weakness, the opportunities, and the threats of Awolowo's politics and MKO Abiola's politics, and then perfected everything and then build his own structures using both Awo and MKO Abiola's template. You see, things that were impossible, very, very impossible, even for Obasanjo, that was a military junta, a military officer, and then who subsequently rose on the betrayal of MKO Abiola back to power in 1999. All the things, all the marvelous permutation and the swindling and the Maradona by Bola Ahmed Tinubu today was as a result of that betrayal since from the 50s to the 60s, 60s to the 70s, 70s to the 80s, 80s to the 90s, 90s to the 2000s. It's going to be a bit ruthless, and I won't be shy in telling you the gospel truth. You see, a proverb in Yoruba language says, tí ọmọ ìyá méjì bá wọ inú yàrá kan náà, tí wọ́n bá sunkún jáde, wọ́n ti sọ òdodo ọ̀rọ̀ fúnra wọn, ọ̀rọ̀ tó korò. Ṣùgbọ́n tọ́n bá rẹ́rìn jáde, irọ́ ló pa fúnra wọn. Meaning, if siblings of the same parents should enter into a room and talk to themselves, when they come out, when they cry, that means they've touched on issues that were very truthful and hurtful. But when they smile, they've lied to themselves. You see, Peter Obi is causing a lot of havoc for the Igbo community, even in Lagos, talk less of the entire Southwest. You see, the Yorubas are so smart. And when you see any Yoruba sons and daughters having to leave Nigeria in terms of migration, you will never see a Yoruba man or woman going down to the east or to the north. Few of them. Not that they were not present, but you can hardly You can count the number of heads, unlike the northerners and the easterners in the southwest and Lagos especially. You see, for Charlie Boy's bus stop to be renamed by Lagosians, Peter Obi should be held responsible for that, because Peter Obi continued to play that same ridiculous, ruthless politics of betrayal that Nnamdi Azikiwe played with Awolowo, all in his quest for power. You see, the Northerners knew that Peter Obi is playing games with them, but Peter Obi, oh God help Peter Obi. Peter Obi, make no mistakes, is the type that the North will remote control. He will not rule. He's not the one that will rule. Despite the fact that he's telling you, Lord, I want to spend one term. Foul. As for me, like I have been saying, and I will continue to say it, and I will continue to bring it right onto your screens and your devices worldwide, I am no longer interested in Nigeria. Let them restructure Nigeria back to the old regional formation. Let Western region stay on its own. I've made up a video, and I'm going to play you that video, and I want you to please listen very attentively to the video. It's coming your way now.
The upcoming program you're about to watch is brought to you by New Media TV in London. Let's get started.
Today we want to discuss an organization called the Western Region of Nigeria Organization, WURNO. This Yoruba pan-organizational movement emerged strongly from an association called the Eminent Elders Forum, EEF, an organization advocating for Nigeria's restructuring based on the 1963 Constitution as a model for the future coexistence of the different nations in a divided Nigeria, 65 years after gaining independence from Britain.
The prominent group of Nigerians originates from different parts of Nigeria's 6 geopolitical zones. They include notable figures from government, politics, industry, and commerce.
But sometimes that is used against us. The situation whereby we are second-class citizens in this country is unacceptable to me and unacceptable to the majority of the Yoruba people. In the First Republic, we know what happened. We know what the headline was. We know what happened to our own. We know what happened to all our other leaders. We know what happened to Abiola. We know what happened to Obasanjo when he was there. They jailed them, they killed them, they brought Sharia law, they brought Boko Haram, majority was there. We know what happened. I won't go too far here, but I'll say one thing. It's time for us to think again. If Nigeria is not restructured, if we do not have cultural restructuring like my brother Gary Adams just said now, if we don't have that, I'll tell you this for free. Let us prepare for Dual Republic, end of story. It's the feeling of the majority of our people. So let's get today as leaders. We say that 90% of the Yoruba people today are of the view that this country needs to be restructured. That is their passionate view, and it's held for a number of very good reasons. Unfortunately, it appears that those from a particular part of the country don't acknowledge that and don't wish to accept that. My fear is that if we do not take the whole restructuring thing seriously and do something about it, let's stop talking about it, do it. Restructuring to the regions, if we don't do it, it may be the end of this country as we know it. Because the call for separation, the call for self-determination, and the call to exercise the right to leave the Federation if the people are not treated fairly is very strong. And we are having to hold back those that believe in breaking the country up. We're talking to give Nigeria a chance. But without restructuring, this country will break. And that is why the true patriot, the true Nigerian, the person that truly believes in unity of Nigeria will advocate restructuring. And that's what the good people are doing here today.
Do you think that more than that peace can be achieved with restructuring?
I think far more peace, justice, equity, decency, good governance, and so much more. That's the way forward. Let's have a true federation. We call ourselves a federation, but we're not. We're a unity state with a federal facade. It's unacceptable. If we don't have restructuring, we break off. That's all. If we don't have it, I will advocate the breaking up of this country.
On Tuesday, 2nd February 2021, the group sent a letter to the Senate President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria in Abuja. The Office of the Senate President received and stamped the letter from the Eminent Elders Forum, EEF, a week later on Tuesday, the 9th February 21.
The noble groups introduce themselves as a collective of 350 distinguished and accomplished individuals from across Nigeria. Attached are the following slides, which include some of the content from the documents. Take your time to read them carefully as you proceed with us.
that Nigeria is dead. We are only pretending about it. Good enough, Tinubu before now was one of the strong advocates of restructuring. But what does restructuring mean? It simply means reduction of the powers at the center. If you don't reduce the powers at the center and send it a little bit to the regions for them to manage, you're wasting time with restructuring. This attempt at amending or altering the constitution is the 6th attempt. When we were in the House of Reps, we didn't have the privilege of doing one. I was in 2.3 to 2.7 set. But ever since, we have had 5 attempts. And it will become a 4-yearly ritual, unless we do something dramatic with this one. There is this impression that is being created as if there are states that are not rich. Every state in Nigeria is rich. Mention the state and I'll tell you how rich they are. There is this assumption that we must all depend on oil. So many states don't need the oil from the Niger Delta. There are states that don't have oil, but they have so much gas. And they are not even tapping into their gas. Several others have different minerals in their area. It is high time we let every state know that they are rich. Even there are people who are more brilliant than the others, they don't even need any mineral, they will still survive. So every state in Nigeria is rich. I will share a little experience I had with Fashola when he was governor. We went to him, we had a meeting. He told us how he had prepared a paper forwarding to Yaradua on the responsibilities that have been put on the exclusive legislative list of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And he said, Mr. President, you can't do this all. Cut out most of this and return them back to the regions. For example, the federal government is still involved in the ownership of secondary school. What is the business of federal government owning a federal government college? If not to have selected schools that they will fund, which they will put for selected individuals in Nigeria. Everything about ownership of secondary schools should revert to the regions. Federal government has no business in it. So the big question we must ask ourselves is, will Tinubu be prepared to allow for a reduction of his power at the center and allow for a good amount of it to go to the federating units? That is one. If he doesn't, he will leave power and he will start crying like all the other people who have left power and are crying today. It doesn't matter how much money you steal. When you leave office, that your money will reduce to nothing. You'll find out that you're struggling. Many of the people who left as governors can't even give you 50, can't even find 50 million for themselves. So let us take advantage of this situation once for all and begin to move the country forward. Because presently this National Assembly has already started restructuring without knowing that what they are doing is restructuring. They have passed Southeast Development Commission, Southwest Development Commission, North Central Development Commission, North East Development Commission. That is restructuring. In a very cosmetic way. How can you be creating commission for all the regions when you are pretending to be running a government at the center? You can't run it from the center.
What are we really driving for? We've had these debates around the Constitution. We've had the big debates around the conferences, the national conferences. I was part of one of them. The last one was in 2014. We've produced several conference reports. We in civil society have done alternative constitutions. We participated in the Nikki Toby 1999 process and many more. Question this raises for me, so what is Chinda trying to say? Obviously he's trying to say there's a failure of governance. I mean, I'm not using his exact words, but that's it. You don't want to change something that's working. You only change something that has failed. And why is government failing? Will the presidential or the parliamentary solve the core of the question, which is largely a problem of elite capture? Complete, total, whether we talk about the economy, whether we talk about security, whether we talk about the political class and political parties, whether we talk about the judiciary and INEC, a total capture by a certain kind of elite class. And my question, therefore, is, do these systems necessarily change the character of this political elite? So I am asking that we all get inspired by what the women are saying. We've been excluded for so long, so we understand what it is like to be excluded. If you are feeling the exclusion now, welcome to our club. We've been there for a long time, and we want you to feel the pinch. But the real story behind all of this, and it's something I have started preoccupying myself with in the last couple of weeks, and I invite you to do so. In 2050, it is projected that there will be 400 and something million Nigerians, most of which will be below the age of 19. It is also projected that as of today, 8% or more of that 200 inflated, if I agree with you, sir, inflated or disagree with you, numbers are below the age of 4, which means that in 2050, there will be about 29. What does this debate mean to them? What? They'll be probably crossing the Sahara Desert to get to Europe. Or many of them who are already in Europe will be thinking of coming back to drive all of us out if we are still alive. And the many other realities of our lives. So the debate today is not shift me from A to B or make this to happen. It's about that Nigeria of the future. And that Nigeria of the future must be inspired by inclusions. Inclusions. It has to be inspired by inclusions. And the reason I speak this way, I'm first and foremost a woman and an activist for women's rights. Those inclusions of gender and the exclusions of gender cannot be a part of is not a part of the conversation. It remains on the table. I'm furthermore a micro minority. One that in a short time, my language may be lost, my identity may be gone in the context of this country. What do these systems mean? I think at the bottom of it all is that these identity questions will continue to define us as Nigerians. The political systems that we bring together must be one that recognizes these identities. I was asking the military officials, for example, today, what are they doing about transgenders and the many other forms of gender classifications? How are they addressing it? It's not just about bringing in women. Diversity is beginning to become very complex in itself. So my last point to you all is that if what we are advocating does not build on inclusions, whether they be of geography, religion, identities of all kinds, including, of course, of the disadvantaged and the hungry right now, those that are hungry on the streets of Nigeria, who are making it impossible, and we are making it impossible for them to live a respectful life. Those inclusions must be at the core. And any system of government that does not recognize and inspire the inclusions of Nigerians, away from what Oxfam has told us for many years about inequality in Nigeria, and just the numbers that are totally unbelievable. How just a few people have the wealth of more than 80 to 90% of the population. This is something that needs to change. These shifts are major shifts that must take place. So this discussion is not just about a system of government. It's not just about political interest and political identification with where we go and where we do not go. It is about people.
Tinubu Afenifere that is based in Akure. In the executive, we are 11. 9 of us are intact. Only 2 renegades are going to Akure for clarification. Afenifere is, I would say, the father of the restructuring process, because we have been saying it for a long time. And we have so many documents. And I've shared some of them. In fact, the final position we have now, we have a document, 51 pages, that says what we mean by restructuring. And I will share it. But the bottom line is that we have no process. We are seeing a goal, but we have not defined a process, milestones, timelines. That's what is missing. We agree that the house is rotting. It needs to be pulled down. have we designed an alternative, a model, which we can now sell. The political class, their teeth is dug into the 1 million barrels of crude oil that they are sharing every time. It's the toy that they are playing with. Tinubu is somebody, typically, once you get to that 1 billion barrels of oil per day, you lose all composition. Like just their appointment to share. So we have to confront them. In this room, we are converted. I don't say any dissenting opinion. But we must have now, there are simple things that we need to do. Luckily for us, Decree 24 of 1999 is one page. The annex to it is the constitution that we are talking about. Can we agree to design an alternative to that constitution with all the provisos, with all the stipulations that we think is the ideal? A body like Eminent Elders Forum, Afenefere, the Ohanese, Pandef, we all agree, we have a forum where we meet. No, not the Elders Forum. I must tell you the truth. They were invited to that body initially, but they insisted that the Middle Belt cannot stand on its own, that they must be subsumed, and the concern was that no, Middle Belt should stand on its own. So the Northern group walked out. So they are not part of the Southern
Did you hear that?
Leadership Forum. It's only the 4 zones, excluding the 2 Northeast and Northwest, because they say that we don't recognize Middle Belt Forum, and we feel Middle Belt Forum should be recognized. That's the position.
Did you hear that?
Situations. So if all these bodies can agree from this point, this is the model that we want Nigeria to be like, then we have a big task to sell that model that we all agree consensus upon. And what are we talking about? 3 things: parliamentary, presidential governance, state stroke regional constitution. Every region must have its own constitution, not one unitary one that we are all tackling. The third thing is to rework the list of functions. If you're able to do these 3, the government has changed totally. Yeah, this exclusive list, whatever. Those 3 things, once you change it in the new draft that we are going to propose, the next is now to sell it. The National Assembly now, they are not very serious. I must say it. We believe that because they have 1 billion naira to share to use every time, and they want 2 years. What you can do in the next 3 months, they want 2 years to do what? We have the draft that can be discussed today, and within 3 months agree on it. How to implement 3-4 years phased implementation plan. This is what we need. If you're able to push them now to do something within the next 3 to 6 months, look, we have only 1 year. Next year, big money will come for political elections. They will not do it to anybody again. If you don't get anything done this year, by next year, see the money they are spending in those states now for governorship election. Labour Party bought 35 vehicles for all people to campaign. How much is one vehicle? If one vehicle is 10 million, that's 50 million straight away, just for campaign, governorship election, for primary. So if you get next year, 2027 in the horizon, then after the project that we have lost momentum again. That's just the truth. So we are settled parliamentary system. We are settled that each region must have its own constitution. Even if it states, we clarified it as SBLF. In the US, you have Delaware, it's a small state. You have Texas, and you have California. So if Akwa Ibom want to be a region, let it be. Why not? Let it be. They can sustain themselves. Western region is not a threat to Akwa Ibom region. If that's where it's going to be. We already settled in the discussion that don't be afraid of Western region, very big, Yorubas. The Igbos, very big. Anyone that can sustain itself without sharing. If I made a point to the governor of Osun State last 3 weeks, it's embarrassing for Yorubas to be coming to Abuja to be sharing money from Niger Delta. It's shameful. Very, very shameful. I told him he was sitting down, governor for Osun State. If you don't get money for Abuja now, we are bankrupt in Yoruba land. That's what it is. I told them point blank in a meeting. So why must Yoruba be coming to Abuja to be sharing money belonging to Niger Delta? We are frustrated. We should wake up. Whatever we consume, we should produce it. That's the bottom line.
And it's very unfortunate, regrettable, that 64 years after independence, we are still talking about a GDP per capita of less than 2,500. What has been projected even up to 2026 is still less than $3,000 dollars per capita. You also have a country in which the structure, the productive sectors of the economy are still struggling. Talking about agriculture and manufacturing many years after independence. Inequality is also high as measured by the Gini coefficient. Now when you look at all this, now the question is, does it have anything to do with the system of government we are practicing here in Nigeria? Any correlation with the presidential system of government? I was looking at a study done by, trying to get evidence. A study done by 2 professors of economics in the US, McManus and Osman. Yes, the study was done in 2019, and what did they do? By way of scope, they looked at 119 countries, practicing either parliamentary system or presidential system. 119 over a period of 65 years, between 1950 and 2015. Okay, so, and what did they find in their study? Now, they found that countries that were, running the parliamentary system produced better economic outcomes.
Did you hear that?
Okay, on the average. They looked at growth, for example. GDP growth was 1.6 times better than those doing presidential. Inflation was 6 percentage points lower than those also practicing presidential. And in terms of even inequality, they said it was 20% lower for the countries practicing the parliamentary system of governance. So if you look at it, the economic indicators seem to favor countries practicing parliamentary system. And a good example is even the Singapore Air Vice Marshal mentioned.
You hear that?
We often compare, draw comparisons.
Listen to that.
Singapore has made tremendous progress. But Singapore is not practicing a presidential system of governance. Singapore is under the parliamentary system. Now, having said that, it's also important to recognize that even if we are going to make a shift, it's not going to be an event, it's not going to be a 100-meter dash, it's something that will take time to consider. But in the meantime, it's important we also begin to consider the low-hanging fruits. Part of these low-hanging fruits, okay, will revolve around some of the things we're also mentioning here. The president has just, I understand, signed there are things they can use the executive order, to do. The state police is one. The issue of even the revenue allocation formula. We talk about fiscal federalism. Some will tell you what we are doing is not fiscal federalism, it's more of administrative federalism. The situation in which the federal government will take 52.68%, states are taking just 26.72%, local governments 20.6%. If you look at that disproportion, again, it doesn't favor the subnationals, and that's why today there's no local economy, just as Amadi has said, no local economy, in Nigeria. That's because the subnationals are weak, the local governments are weak. Even the money that is meant to go to local governments are also, don't eventually get to them. So I am submitting that if you have done something continuously for a long time and it keeps producing the same result, there's no harm in also trying to check the alternatives, especially when there is evidence suggests that those alternatives have produced superior economic reforms. But in the meantime, what do? We try to take advantage of, let's implement at least the low-hanging ones, to ensure that ultimately the purpose of governance, just as the last speaker also said, it's not about whether
Well, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, June 12 is a special day in Nigeria's annual calendar because it is the day we commemorate the martyrdom of the father of Nigeria's current democracy, Chief Moshood Kashimawo Abiola, GCFR. The theme of today's rally, securing the future of Nigeria through a new democratic people's constitution, is very apt. But before my remarks on the theme, I want to briefly tell you the story of my personal interactions with Chief M.K. Abiola in the last period leading to his tragic death on 7 July 1998. In early July 1994, just weeks after he was thrown into detention by the then Nigeria's dictator, General Sani Abacha, I came to Nigeria from London to see General Abacha, following media reports that Chief Abiola was being tortured in detention and had taken ill. Chief Abiola was known to have won what was universally described as Nigeria's freest and fairest presidential election. The election had been observed by international observers that included Lord George Robertson, a subsequent British government Minister for Defence and Secretary General of NATO, who had assured me of the freeness and fairness of the election. I therefore, as Commonwealth Secretary General, publicly criticized the annulment of that election by the then Nigeria's President, General Ibrahim Babangida, In my meeting with General Abacha, his first reaction to my request to visit Abiola in detention was no. He said to me, "You cannot visit a man who's been charged with treason against his country." But when I told him that I would feel obliged to tell the local and international media, who were bound to ask me after my meeting with Abacha if I had seen Chief Abiola, to tell them that I put the request to you and you said no. The inescapable conclusion after that would be that the media reports about the position and condition of Abiola in detention was true. I will leave for another day the story of how a commissioner of police escorted me from the Transcorp Hilton Hotel to the place where Abiola was being detained. In my meeting with Chief Abiola, I discussed and obtained his agreement to my proposal for resolving the national crisis at the time. And thereafter, I put the same proposal to the head of state, General Abacha, and he rejected it, and so continued to keep Abiola in detention. I met with Chief Abiola for the second time in detention at the beginning of July 1998. This time under relatively happier circumstances, with the permission of General Abdusalami Abubakar, who had succeeded General Abacha as Nigeria's head of state in June 1998. Indeed, the last photograph taken by Chief M.K. Abiola alive was with me and the then number 2 to General Abdusalami Abubakar, Admiral Mike Ahibe. I was indescribably shocked when the head of state telephoned to inform me in London that Chief Abiola, with whom I had met only a few days earlier, and who the head of state had told me was soon to be released, that he had died. May I therefore, at this point, invite all of you to stand up and observe a 2-minute silence in memory of Chief M.K. Abiola. May his soul rest in peace. Please sit down. Let me now come to the theme of our rally today. I want to begin my remarks by affirming 2 undeniable basic facts with which I am sure that all our citizens would agree. First, our country, Nigeria, is a pluralistic country.
Indeed.
That is, a country of groups of people.
Listen.
With diverse cultures, languages, and religions, who had lived in their separate geographical areas
Correct.
for generations before the man-made amalgamation of the groups into one political entity called Nigeria.
Conglomerate.
So the country, from its inception,
Was fraud.
has faced the challenge of how to manage its diversity. The second incontestable fact is that as of today, under our present constitution, the Nigerian project is clearly not working. As succinctly summed up by Ruben Abati in his article of last week in This Day, Nigerians, and I like to quote him here, are assailed by high cost of living, crude oil theft, food inflation, insecurity, corruption, divestments by multinational oil corporations, the flight of capital to other countries, the unabated spread of a culture of hate in the country, poor governance, and bad politics. End of quotation. The high hopes for the future that prevailed among the citizens, especially the youth, in the immediate years after independence are no longer there. In those years, Nigerians traveled abroad to obtain education
and then return
to improve their skills. But now, many Nigerian youth and professionals seek opportunities to go abroad to pursue self-fulfillment. The increasingly popular word
Japa
did not exist in those halcyon days.
Correct.
I dare say that unless a bold and courageous remedial action is taken now to give the country a new constitution, the Nigerian project will continue to totter towards an eventual collapse.
Correct.
Like Nigeria, there are other pluralistic countries that have faced the challenge of how to manage their diversity. Some of such countries which failed to address their diversity have disintegrated. Yugoslavia broke into 8 independent states after over 100 years' existence as one country. Czechoslovakia separated into 2 countries after about 100 years of existence as one country. East Timor became a separate independent country after so many years of existence as part of Indonesia. And to come nearer home, to Africa, Sudan broke into 2 independent states after about 3,000 years of existence as one country. But other pluralistic countries which consciously and adequately addressed their diversity have succeeded in remaining individual united countries. For examples, Switzerland with its unique constitution, Canada and India with their truly federal constitutions. In Nigeria, our founding fathers recognized the crucial importance of addressing the country's diversity, and so proceeded to negotiate and agree the
1963
Constitution,
correct,
which was a truly federal constitution. As a result, the country was more united and was progressing at a relatively greater pace of socio-economic development until the military intervened in governance in January 1966.
I did make mention of that.
Eventually imposed on the country
A unitary
the 1999
constitution,
which, with the blatantly false claim that the constitution was made by
we
the people of Nigeria.
fraud.
The 1999 constitution, even as amended, lacks the legitimacy that can only be conferred on a constitution democratically made by the people of Nigeria. We must therefore have a new legitimate constitution that will give us a different governance system that can tackle effectively the myriad challenges currently facing our country. In my view, the new constitution should involve fewer and more economically viable federating units.
Correct.
It should be made by a constituent assembly of persons to be democratically elected.
Correct.
On non-political party basis.
Correct.
I would say of 3 persons per each of the 36 existing states and 1 from the federal capital.
Dia Ojo, I hope you are still there.
Should take into consideration the 1960 and 1963 Constitution, as well as the recommendations of the 2014 National Conference. Thereafter, the draft Constitution produced by this Constituent Assembly should be submitted to a national referendum for approval. And in this way, we will have a legitimate Nigerian citizens' constitution. In conclusion, in order for our pluralistic country Nigeria to survive, I call on the Presidency and the National and State Assembly to hearken to the plea of the patriots and others advocating a restructuring of
yes,
governance.
but restructure Nigeria now before it is too late.
The plea for a bold step to give the country a new democratically made Nigeria's people's constitution.
Ọlọ́run mi mò ń bẹ̀ ọ́, orí mi má gbà bọ́dé, lékè aráyé dá mi láre o. Yes. Special background music by Jelenke Father, Dia Ojo. Yes, it is a fantasy to think Nigeria will work. It will never work. So President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, restructure Nigeria now before it is too late to save lives. Oh yes, greediness by the politicians. Thank you, dear. Yes, àwọn rédèrèdè politician yín. Oh yes, àwọn nọ́mbà ilé ayé jẹ́. Oh yes. Yeah, rí gbogbo wọn bó ṣe ń kú lẹ́yọ kọ̀ọ̀kan. Ikú oró ló máa pa gbogbo wọn lẹ́yọ kọ̀ọ̀kan. Oh yes. Àwọn ìka ẹ̀dá. Ọlọ́run mi mò ń bẹ̀ ọ́ kórì mi má gbà bọ́dé gbé mi lékè aráyé dá mi láre o. Thank you, dear Ojo. Ó máa kú gbẹ̀yìn, díyà Òjó. Ikú Àtíkù ó máa ní oró gan.
Ọlọ́run ó sì ṣe fara
history, as we are told, is the study of the past, specifically focusing on past events, people, and societies. It involves examining evidence, interpreting information, and constructing narratives to understand how the past has shaped the present and to draw lessons for the future. Let's recap the lessons of our past and examine very carefully whether, truly, Nigeria, with all its different nationalities, is united as a nation.
We all know can be a bit exhausting. The princess was received with yells from the kids. Her friendly charm had quickly made her very popular. It was as the representative of Her Majesty the Queen that Princess Alexandra of Kent returned in the evening. She was about to hand over Nigeria's constitution, and presently, quoting the Queen's own words, she was to wish Nigeria a great and noble future. This was the moment for which the country's leaders, in partnership with British authority, had patiently worked. The Nigerians themselves emphasized that all has been done in friendship, and that friendship will continue. Meanwhile, top-ranking Nigerians, wearing their finest robes, watched in dignified silence as the climax of Independence Day was reached. In handing over the documents to the Federal Prime Minister, Alhaji Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa, Her Royal Highness handed over sovereignty to a new nation. The Union flag flying for the last time.
Did you hear that?
Princess Alexandra was present, of course, for the final ceremony
1960.
on the stroke of midnight. This was the dramatic takeover by the new nation's own green and white flag. The next day came the state opening of Parliament. Princess Alexandra, wearing a white embroidered gown and a diamond tiara, entered the chamber where 350 senators and representatives and many guests had assembled. This was the first session of the first Parliament of the new Nigeria.
New Nigeria, 1960.
Dr. Ezekwe, President of the Senate and Governor-General Designate, addressed the Princess, asking her to open Parliament by reading the speech from the throne.
This is part one of this epic video from New Media TV in London on the urgent need to restructure Nigeria before it's too late. Your host is Frank Bello. In part two, we will delve into more detail to showcase some of the extensive efforts by the Western Nigeria Regional Organization, WRO, led by Dr. Akin Fapunda, advocating for the immediate reestablishment of the Western region out of Nigeria, as it was before January 15, 1966. Stay tuned, as this unique and vital information will provide you with greater insight into the way forward for Nigeria and our relationship with our immediate neighbors. That's all for now. If you enjoyed this video or any of our live streams, please don't forget to like, follow us, share, and subscribe to our channels on Facebook and YouTube. Your engagement, subscriptions, and interactions are the greatest reward for us. Our pages are non-commercial. Thanks for watching. See you in our next video and live stream.
Yes, indeed. Was that very educational or not? See, if we fail to revisit history, you and I might not be doing justice to ourselves. You see, like I made it known to a handful of you that Nigeria is not the problem. 369 Nigeria is not the real problem. Because, like I have decoded in my book, is it 369, the sacred geometric number that held Nigeria together, was deeply spiritual. And if we should go back memory lane, let me tell you, Nigeria was purposely molded together, number one, to be an icon and an experiment for one black nation in the world to excel and to be a first world in no time. I'll tell you a story. Back in those days, and in fact, in the 60s, like I made those research. The Norwegian government made it known at the rate which the Western region in particular was fast developing. The Norwegian government made it known to the whole world that given 10 years from 1960, that by 1970, Nigeria will become a first world. That was based strongly on the development in the Western region. And these were some of the indices of a thriving Nigeria at the time. Awolowo never depended on crude oil for the Southwest to be self-sufficient. Awolowo developed a robust agricultural system for the Southwest, the Yoruba people. Now, I'm going to take you through some important slides. I think I've prepared the stream for that, and I'll show you. Now, here it is. We're going to go through it. See? Now, look at this. This was the letter that was sent to the then president of the Senate at the time. Guess who? Ahmed Lawan. This was that letter by the Eminent Elders Forum that was sent. It was sent, as you can see, on the 2nd of February 2021. The President, Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, National Assembly, Abuja. And you can clearly see on the stamp right of your screen that the Office of the Senate President received this document on the 9th of February 2021. A week later. Now, this was some of the information contained in that document, and in the introduction you can clearly see it is axiomatic that peoples outside and aggregate to form nations. It goes. There is a general agreement that the 1979 and 1999 editions of the Nigerian Constitution are fundamentally defective regarding this most basic requirement for consensual self-government by the ethnic nationalities of Nigeria. Now, they brought in the example of how the people of Chile boldly terminated endless amendments and opted for a new constitution. That is worthy of emulation. I don't believe in all this your bragado of the 1999 constitution as amended. It is fraudulent. September 11, 1980, under the military dictatorship of Augusto Pinochet. You all remember Augusto Pinochet, that George Bush Sr. called for his head. And when we look back, the Chile Constitution was amended considerably on August 17, 1989 via a referendum, and on the 22nd of September 2005 legislatively, and also in 1991, 1994, 1997, 1999, 2000, 2001, 2003, 2007, 2008, 2009, and 2010. So it is Chile's 8th constitution, replacing the constitution, their constitution of 1925. So the Chilean model shows the supremacy of the will or the voice of the people in constitutional development. What is stopping these greedy, hopeless, ridiculous, blood-sucking parasites in your National Assembly? Why are they afraid for a constitutional reform and to jettison that fraudulent 1999 constitution? Now, these were the people behind, the key people. Well, obviously Senator Ibrahim Mantu is gone into the world beyond. He was the chairman of the Eminent Elders Forum. Dr. Akinfakbonda is still very much around with us, and you can clearly see he was the secretary of the EEF. And of course, Professor Echefuna Onyabiadi, who is one of the top coordinators. So one from the north, I'm pretty sure that must have been replaced. Dr. Akinfakbonda from the southwest, from the Afenifere group, and who's been very active in restructuring Nigeria and a template for it in returning Nigeria back to the 1960-1963 regional formation and the 1963 constitution. These are some of other key documents. You guys, you can read them later. Now, I'm not going to go into this because it's such a long process, but I've actually showcased this particular document in that slide presentation to you guys. So what I want to do this time around is, what are they advocating for? This is the proposals for restructuring of Nigeria using the 1963 constitution as a template. Currently, we've got 5: Yoruba Nation, United Niger Delta, as made up by me, Biafra Republic, Niger Middle Belt, and Arewa in the north. It could be more. 1960, 2025. Nigeria at 65. Blood flowing everywhere. Now, this is the group led by Dr. Akin Fakbunda. Well, I just made up that logo. I'm not too sure whether it must have been accepted by them. Western Region Organization, WRO. Now, this is very, very important, because I'm going to tell you. You see, I'm not saying those agitating for the Yoruba nation probably should not do so. They can't do so. But are we going to see a situation whereby those advocating for a Yoruba nation are really deceiving and they're lying to many gullible Yorubas at home, and those that are into retirement in the diaspora, milking them of their retirement pension? The groups working behind, in conjunction with those that are really responsible for returning the country back to the 1963 regional formation, are working tirelessly. And the group, the Western Region Organization, WRO, is an advocacy group dedicated to the recreation of the Western region as it existed prior to January 15, 1966. So the group represents the Yoruba people, the descendants of Oduduwa and inheritors of Obafemi Awolowo's educational legacy, somebody like myself. The organization aims to unite Yorubas globally, leveraging their education and influence to become a proactive force for the betterment of their homeland in West Africa. You see, now we've got a situation whereby those agitating for the Yoruba nation are even divided. We've got, I'll probably still come there. Now, this is the map. You can see some map in there. Let me blow this out for you. You see, Ogun province, Lagos province, Oyo province, Osun province. We will go into this. We're still coming here, and this will be made more clearer to you. So we, the Yoruba people, we want to protect our heritage. We want to protect our education. We want to promote our influence on the world stage. Yoruba sub-nationalities, Western Nigerian territories. Look at this. The Yoruba nation comprises 26 district sub-nationalities, each speaking a variant of the Yoruba language and occupying specific territories across Western Nigeria. Here we have the cultural diversity. The sub-nationalities include Akoko, Akure, Awori, Ekiti, Eko, Egba, Ibadan, Ibarapa, Ife, Ijebu, Ijesha, Ikale, Ilaje, and much more, with its own unique cultural identity. Okay, what is our unity in diversity? The Western region aims to be a federation. Yes, we aim to be a federation and commonwealth of these subnationalities, ensuring no group feels subordinate to another. So Western region will be a federation inside a federation. That's what that means. And then the mere fact that Western region is a federation inside a federating unit means other nationalities such as the Aworis, the Akures, the Ekitis, the Jebus, the Barapas, the Ilajes are not shortchanged. And such groups will not feel inferior or subordinate to the other. Now you see how they aim to achieve this goal. Let's go. Now, here, they said we shall be a federation of 26 sub-nationalities. You can clearly see that. Akoko, Akure, Awori, Ekiti, Eko, Egba, Ibadan, Ibarapa, Ife, Ijebu, Ijesha, Ikale, Ilaje, Igbomina, Ishekiri, Ogori Magongo, Ogu, that is, here they refer to them as Egun, Okun, which is, the Bunu, Ijumu, Owe, Oworo, and Yagba, Ondo, Onko, Okeogun, Oshun, Owo, Owu, Oyo, Remo, Yewa. These are the 26 sub-nationalities. Now, please tell me, Professor Banji Akintoye is advocating for a Yoruba nation. All of them shouting Yoruba, 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 Yoruba nation. What have they really gone so deep to actually realize those 26 sub-nationalities within the same Yoruba nation or the Western region, if we put it that way? Now, they've clearly mapped out the regions for you to see. You can see this is the map of the Western region. Lagos province, Ogun province, Oyo province, Ilorin Igbomina province, Okun province, Ekiti province, Osun province, Ondo province, Akoko Edo local government area. Now you can clearly see all this blue map, all this blue ink. You see, let me explain this. You see where you have the green ink? Those are the real core Yorubas. Those ones in blue, Okun province, Akoko Edo local government area province, Ishekiri province. At the bottom here, you will see exactly what's going to happen in this negotiation. Now, before they dismantle the regions, we were all on a journey to greatness from 1954 until Nigeria's trajectory was aborted. January 15, 1966. I'm not going to go into all these details. They're talking about Chief Awolowo's achievement in education. From 1955 policy launch, Chief Awolowo introduces free primary education in Western region. Other regions, Zik and the North, were unable to implement such educational policy. Education revolution. So the launch of the free primary education in Western region brought about the educational revolution in Western region. And the policy at the time was aimed at catalyzing local production and embracing modern science and technology. It was implemented, that free education in Obafemi Awolowo's era was implemented by Professor Stephen Awokoya, who happens to be the first graduate, 1946. He became Western Region's first Minister of Education. He led the implementation of Chief Awolowo's educational policy of 1955. What about economic development? We've got Odua conglomerate. The Western region became the commercial hub, the beehive of economic and commercial activities. The Western region was driving the growth and prosperity of Nigeria. Infrastructure was not left behind. Significant investments in infrastructure also came into force. And that improved the quality of life for many of those that are in the Western region. And that was why Nnamdi Azikiwe from the east and Sardauna of Sokoto in the north were envious and were jealous of many of those great achievements Chief Obafemi Awolowo implemented in the Western region. University of Ife, Obafemi Awolowo's pioneering project, which was why it was named Obafemi Awolowo University now. Premier Hotel, a symbol of excellence in those days. One of the oldest and most prestigious hotels, not only in Nigeria, but throughout West Africa. In Ibadan. It was an architectural marvel, an iconic structure representing the Western region's progress and hospitality. It wasn't owned by the late Chief Obafemi Awolowo. Premier Hotel was owned by the Western region as part of the Odua state ownership. What about Cocoa House? West Africa's first skyscraper. All of these marvelous developments were all implemented and they came to light within 3 years, 3-4 years. No oil money. The trailblazing Western region of Nigeria, WNTV, Western Nigeria Television, the first in Africa. AWO, always the first in development. What about our industry? They are all in decline. Odua group of companies who collapsed it, Olusegun Obasanjo, in conjunction with the Fulanis in the north. Now, look at some of the industries existing and thriving in the Western region at the time. Dunlop Nigeria, Volkswagen Nigeria, and Leventis Bus Assembly. That's on the automotive side. And for Dunlop, make no mistakes, Awolowo had a rubber plantation. So Dunlop, who manufactures tire in Nigeria, does not have to seek raw materials abroad. So the rubber plantation in Ikene was the one that Dunlop Nigeria was using. And the moment those tires were made by Dunlop, then Volkswagen and Leventis Boss, they've got their raw materials, part of the raw materials to make up their vehicles. What about manufacturing? Alumaco Aluminium Company, Nigeria Textile Mills, and Oluwa Glass Industry in Ondo State. Who killed Oluwa Glass? Obasanjo did. The Fulanis did. What about food and beverages? We've got Lafia Canning Factory. We've got Cocoa Industries Limited and Telafruit Canning Industry. Electronics, Sanyo Industries, Adebowale Electronics on the Ikorodu Road, and Joas Electronics. They killed them. Now, those iconic elders, they're now advocating for a true federalism. So we want President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to now begin the process to return Nigeria back to true federalism with resource control. That's number one. Number two, regional autonomy. Let each region control their resources. Let Western region control their own resources, their affairs, their internal democracy, without any interference from the Igbo people or from the Hausa Fulani people in the north. I want President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to return Nigeria back to a parliamentary democracy. I have been advocating for this for a pretty long time. We want to push that ridiculous, contracted Nigeria back to a parliamentary system of government. Presidential is fraud. Now, it could be worse. It could get worse. And I tell you why. It is very likely that Nigeria may be reconfigured into 8 regions. Not even 6. With the rate things are going. Not even 6. 8 regions, each with its own constitution and invested with the rights to manage their own affairs. What are these 8 regions? Western region is intact. We've spelled out through those smart and intelligent individuals working behind closed doors. Not Banji Akitoye, not Sunday Igboho, not the ridiculous Dupe Onitiri, but real people talking to government. So we could have, eventually, when Nigeria collapse, Western state, Midwestern state, Southern state, Southeastern state, Eastern Middle Belt state, Northeastern state, Northwestern state, and then Western Middle Belt state. So the Middle Belt, there is the likelihood the Middle Belt will be divided up into 2. You are looking at it. You will never get this information from those that are blah 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 talking nonsense. Some of them even said they've manufactured or they've printed Yoruba passport, Yoruba nation passport. Fraud upon fraud. So these are the implementation. They will take stock. Western Region Organization will take stock of all Yoruba sons and daughters. And it's a verification process. You cannot just come, because they will vet you so that you are 100% genuine Yoruba sons and daughters. You'll be vetted. Let the East hold on to their East. Let the Yorubas of the Southwest, let them hold on to their land. It is their ancestral land. And let the Hausa Fulani in the north, let them hold their north. Yeah. If we have to trade with ourselves, so be it. That is the... Listen, there's a lot more coming. There's a lot more coming. But as for me, let me assure you, listen, I have taken my hands off those non-entities who claim they're fighting for Europe. They want a Yoruba nation. And I've told you a lot. It's a farce. And I saw it way back in the year 2020, towards the tail end, because the way they continue to slaughter themselves, and then that gave them the room for other people to actually hijack and then smuggled themselves into the agitation. See, Professor Banji Akintoye was unable to manage the agitation. Perhaps if Professor Banji Akintoye played the right card with the rest of the crew of the Yoruba leaders, such as Chief Tola Adeniyi, Dr. Amos Akingba, and the rest of them, Professor Anthony Killer, we should have gone far. Listen, the fraud inside Yoruba nation is too much, and the lies upon lies and the deception upon deception, they've been deceiving the Yoruba people. I don't want to have a hand in that. If it is returning Nigeria back to the 1963 regional formation with that clause that Dr. Akin Fakbonda's group and the rest were advocating for, okay, let's test the water. Let us first return Nigeria back to the 1963 constitution and regional formation with a clause. That clause that they are asking and advocating to be inserted in the 1963 constitution was the same clause that the late Chief Obafemi Awolowo advocated during one of those London Constitutional Conference, to which Sadaruna of Sokoto and Chief Obafemi Awolowo were singing from the same hymn sheet, that should in case this marriage of inconvenience does not work out, that clause should be included, that each and every region, they've got the right to opt out of the way of the inconvenient marriage of the rich southern wife with the poor northern husband. Fraud. if they have to return Nigeria back to 1963 regional formation, and if that clause can be incorporated into the 1963 constitution, should the marriage as a federating unit, Western region as a federating unit, wants to opt out to full self-governance, sovereign nation of their own, let each and every one of them depart. Let's end the marriage. I will flow with that. Any reasonable individual will flow with that. Yeah. I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind flowing with such a development. I wouldn't mind. Two hours and 8 minutes of serious streaming. Let me seize this opportunity to thank each and every one of you. Councillor Fumi Ademilua, you're watching. Ulumuiwa Hojo, I'm saying that name for the first time. Narada Franklin, Uday Vivian, Ulubumi Oyewole, Dia, Julius Aruakintoriwa, my good friend, Ide Kelvin, and Bashiru Oguntade. Yes, you are those Anyokunle, Agbolade. Yes, I can see you too at the top there. Okay, guys, thanks for watching today's live show. I hope to be back again at some point in time. If I'm probably outside, maybe I'll come live and I'll, do some live broadcast and talk to you guys. But on this note, guys, I want to thank you for coming in, tuning in to watch the show. Please, if this is your first time, don't forget to like, follow us, share if you want to share it. Like I always say, we are non-monetization. We don't make money off our feeds. It is here to educate and to entertain you, to bring you some of those craziest, raw, undiluted news and information, and then we bring in our own analysis into it. It's going to be tough. Maybe Bola Tinubu is the man, because the pressure is on Bola Tinubu right now to reconfigure Nigeria. So guys, thanks for watching. I hope to see you next time. Follow us and then subscribe to our channel on both Facebook and YouTube. So until next time, I wish you a very good week and plenty of joy, happiness. Look after yourselves, and I hope to see you very soon. So until next time, take good care of yourselves, and God bless you. Goodbye.
New Media TV. Beyond the headlines. News in its purest form. If you have enjoyed this video or any of our podcasts or live streams, don't forget to give us a thumbs up, share it, and subscribe for more content like this. We make information simple. Your experience matters to us. Liberty Media Communications. Live stream with confidence. Fewness of words. Greatness of deeds. We empower people around the world to stand up for their social or ethical principles of freedom or entitlement. That's all for now. Thanks for watching. See you in our next video or live stream.